Gentlemen, you are welcome to the second annual public lecture of LIBERTEVIE Law Practice, a law firm owned by my friend, my childhood friend, Olani Odole. My name is Ari Odole. I've been commissioned as an emergency MC. I hope that I'll make it best. So we are welcome. So we'll start with another program, opening prayer, and I will call on Attainable Adebayo. Please. Adebayo, Attainable Adebayo.
Business, in this law practice, we thank you. And also in the nation Nigeria, on a day like this, we also thank you. And for every life that is here, we also thank you. For every purpose and agenda of thine that is represented here, we are thankful. We commit all things in your care. You are the God that has made this day. We want you to please lead each of this program. Let it be beneficial to society and to everyone in such a way and manner that even those that are connected online, everybody will be able to take something that will affect their thinking today positively. Guide everything we do and bless according to your own purpose. Forever we will give you glory. In Jesus' name we pray.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to state that the first annual lecture of this law firm held this same place this time last year, and today, to the glory of God, we are holding the second one. And the topic of the program is shared prosperity. I'm sorry, I missed this. The lead counsel's opening remark. Please, Mr. Abele.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you for gracing this occasion. We know that you have a very tight schedule, and we've called you and you've answered us. We are very grateful. We appreciate you, sirs and ma'ams. God bless you all. Now, the question is, why do we have this occasion? Why do we have this program? You know, over the past few years, more than 20 years that I've been practicing law, I discover one main factor. The main factor is that the rich have access to good lawyers, good consultants. So it makes their life easy because they could obtain sound advice anywhere. But the poor, they may even have a good case, a good matter, but because of lack of money and because of the pedestrian quality of services rendered by some people, some things are messed up. So while I was with my former leader, my mentor, I discovered that after they've messed up those issues, they will bring it to us to repair. This thing could have been better solved if this man had gone to the right source from the beginning. And that kept on agitating my mind. How do we make legal services to be reachable to at least the majority of Nigerian quality legal services at affordable rate? Because legal services it's not cheap, you know. Good services, or better, you know, so it's not cheap. But how do we make it available? It's been an issue for me. Then how do we really empower our people? You know, we've gone through the breadth of Nigeria from my student days down to my practice days for the past 22 years, and you can see poverty left, right, and center. You know, and this is a blessed land. So that issue kept on agitating my mind. And last year, when we started this series, and in the election period, I sat down, analyzed the manifesto of the three main contenders. They were all saying the same thing. We will remove subsidy. We will float the naira. We will do this, we will do that. But nobody thought about the consequences. We are not saying that what they said was wrong. That is not the point. But for every decision, for every policy decision, there are consequences. So we formed the topic, law and liberty, law, order, and liberty in the age of crisis. That was the topic we spoke on last year, and my good brother, Mr. Lebiju, came to speak on it, and my leader too, Comrade Rockway Winla, came to speak on that topic. That period, we could see what we are seeing now. So we were not surprised. But we know that in some few years, people will start reaping the policy of those harsh, hard, and bitter decisions. So today, we now look at it as a law firm. How could we contribute to policy discourse? How do we, what we know, because we advise different sets of people, small businesses, medium businesses, big businesses. What we learn from the big business, how can we use it to help the small business? What we learned from the small business, how can we use it to help the big business? Then how can we also bring our clients together and prospective clients so that when you collaborate, you know, I was taught a lesson in collaboration. Law firms also collaborate. You know, Mr. Enibukwadibayo taught me a lesson in collaboration. We are not competing with any law firm. We are not in competition with anybody. We are collaborating. Some of the biggest people who have given us in the past 1 year are lawyers, fellow lawyers. Come and do this work. And we are also doing the same thing, linking some of our clients with one another. You need this need, there's somebody who has this need. So we link them so that they prosper together. And we also, of course, we will do the documentation, we will advise them on it, and everybody is happy. So the essence of bringing everybody together is, how do we make this land better? Because it's when the land is better that we have security, that we have prosperity, that law will thrive. People will be able to pay their lawyers. That's when our children will not be running abroad. That's when nobody can buy your votes for 5,000 naira. Because 5,000 naira is nothing to you. When people are educated, and all those, when infrastructure too is sound, when businesses are thriving, when the home front is sound and solid. We have cases, people say, I want to divorce my husband. And when you look at the root cause, money is carrying girls. So if the family is solid and all other things, prosperity will be shared abroad in our land. So we look at some other countries. In some other countries, there are law firms that are 500 years old, contributing to the development of those countries. And those countries, that's where we run to, living our own land. So our thought is that as we discuss this, what are the opportunities? We have on the panel people in the public service who are in public service, who manage a state and spoke for the governor. The spokesperson to the president, Tope Ajayi, was meant to be here today to also speak to all those issues, but we spoke yesterday night, and he told me that he couldn't come because of the Democracy Day activity that he was coordinating, that it would be difficult for him, that he didn't know that he would be saddled with it until the last moment, and that he couldn't even appear, but he sent his great wishes. So we have Mr. Tope Makun, a sound consultant who will speak to the issue. We have Mr. Anyango. I met him through another colleague of mine, and we render service to Pinnacle Oil and Gas FZD. So, and he's also a very sound person who has practical business experience. And we have Mr. Enisu Akinshola, who has been in public space for years. He used to be with the nation, worked with the president, the current president, before working with Mimiko. So we want to look at it. How do we make sure that prosperity is shared around? Can we banish poverty? I doubt it. But can we make life better for our people? I think so. Because how progressive a nation is, you look at how it treats its prisoners, its poor people. So on those indices, we failed. But is Nigeria a failed state? I don't believe so. So we've called you together to brainstorm on this issue so that for the next 1 year, you can go back. How can I employ more people? Because when we are in business, our belief as a practice, as a law firm, is that when you are in a business, you are not there alone to make money for yourself. When you're in public space, you are not there to make money for yourself. You are there to serve. So as businessmen, most of you are business people, how can I expand my business? How can I be in Zamfara? How can I be in the north? Because whatever happened in Zamfara affects us here. Whatever happened in Borno affects us here. So if people have jobs, people are employed, government is more responsible, and quality people like you all go also into the public space, Nigeria will be the better for it. That is the essence of this topic. So we thank you, and I believe that these eminent people will speak better to the issues. Please listen, and we want you to also contribute. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you. That is vintage Olaniran Obele, speaking to the issues of access to justice, analyzing the factors militating against access to justice. He also talked about collaboration amongst law firms and others. Thank you, Mr. Obele. So, to speakers, Mr. Obele, share prosperity. Is it attainable in Africa? Is it attainable in Nigeria? Please speak to the issue, sir.
Thank you very much. Please permit me to sit down. I'll be a little bit more comfortable. I want to welcome and appreciate my speaker here, Mr. Sunday. My good, I want to appreciate you. I thank you for this opportunity. Distinguished guests, my job is easy and it's been made easier by the opening remark of the lead counsel. Before I came in, I thought I was going to be talking about shared prosperity from the perspective of the World Bank, the goal set, and how ideal it is to Africa and to Nigeria. But I just got to know from him that he's talking about shared prosperity not in terms of that concept of the World Bank, but in the original meaning of shared prosperity for all, that is the good of the society. And so it makes my job easier, because I was going to then ask him and ask the audience, why are we talking about Africa when we talk about shared prosperity? Are we talking about Africa within the purview of what development partners always think? You know, they look at Africa as one single country in a tiny place in a far location in the world. If you entertain any discussion with an average American thinker, British thinker, European thinker, that is their perception of Africa, until they come to Africa and they realize that some Africans are in Africa who have never seen some Africans from Africa and will never see some Africans from Africa. We are in two extreme parts of Africa. We may never see, our cultures are different, our languages are different, our thinking process are different, our historical experiences are different, the minerals we have under are different. So the lobby and fight for our land is multi-dimensional and different. So when they sit in the Bretton Woods Institute and design policies, they just design as if they are designing for a location and one local government, not knowing that they are talking about millions of people, some of who have seen civilization long before their forefathers saw civilization. So I was going to address it from that perspective, that whoever, and I looked at the definition, and this is what the World Bank says, is the average annual growth rate in income or consumption of the bottom 40% of the population in a country. Now, there is an assumption that there is income in everybody, that all of us get incomes. There's that assumption. It may sound correct, but in truth, you get to some locations that nobody talks about income. You just talk about living by the day. I mean, income means that you produce, and in dispensing your service or goods, you get something returned. Majority of African poor do not produce anything for sale. We live for subsistence. We wake up every day to eat and survive for the day. Nobody produces anything. So when you now talk and define it as income, you are not getting it. You can talk about consumption, and I will agree with you. There are thousands, millions of Africans who consume every day, but they cannot quantify their consumption in naira and kobo, except somebody helps them to do it. So when you now say anybody who is poor is somebody who lives below $2, they don't know what the dollar is. They don't even know what the naira equivalent of. But in times of the benefit they get, poor as they are, it's much more than your dollar and naira. So poverty, I do not find it easy to therefore define it in terms of money. I define it by the quality of life you live. the quality of life you live. And I'm also going to be different from so many. Some people think it is when you live in an AC environment or you ride a big car that determines the quality of your life. I say that is not true. I know of people in my village who have never taken a ride in any air-conditioned vehicle, but whose quality of life are better than mine. And I say it without being hypocritical about it. What do I mean about their quality of life? They eat fresh vegetable in the morning. They drink water from natural sources, no chemicals, no additives. They take fruit directly from farm, no fertilizers, no enhancement. They live their life in peace. They do not have the worry of sound pollution, air pollution. Their quality of life, brothers and sisters, is better than mine. I wake up when I was living in Okota, I had to take my first son to the hospital because I discovered that he was shouting. Each time he wants to pass across information, he will shout. And I said, something is wrong. And I discovered that he was reacting to the hoopla of generators around us. He was reacting because he does not hear at the right decibel, so he speaks at a non-commensurate decibel in order to be heard. When we moved into the provinces in Akure, I discovered that we don't need to shout. I discovered that now we were talking like humans. So if you're now going to describe the quality of life and poverty, you are probably going to say we are poorer down there. But I take a serious exception. So my terminologies may be different from what you and Mr. Moderator, I don't know how many minutes I have so that I won't have to be blabbing on forever. The other thing that the World Bank says is that the shared prosperity premium is the difference between the growth of the poorest 40% and the growth rate for the entire population. Well, we can look at it. But in our society, in Africa, where there is no statistics, dependable statistics, most statistics in Africa are cooked. It starts from the basic thing about your names, our identities, the years of our birth. Most are cooked. Most are cooked. Figures in health centers are cooked. Number of births are cooked because some of these figures determine what allocation comes from government coffers. So instead of saying we have 10 births per month, they write 100. So that when budgeting for next year, they will budget for 100 and they will take 90 and operate 10. So how can we then know what is 40% and what is not 40%? So we are living in the bubble. The population of Nigeria is said to be 200 million. I say no, it cannot be 200 million. Let us prove it. I know that where we are, which is the times of watching each other in manipulation of electoral figures were manipulated. What do I mean? Matched here. The MPN person is an election as the UPN person. So we rate. But in far north, I've been far east. See, no election ever takes place. People just wake up on the day of election, get to the palace of the Emma until recently and write the figures. People go to polling units and they will tell you that my wives cannot come out unmasked. I've seen it happen. I work with that for political participants. And when I went in North, on vote, I'm talking about some 20 years ago. People, the vote ballot will be here. People will be coming out from the house. Wives, you can't see their faces. And they will vote. And they will go back. So from the same house, I saw it. I'm not talking about people reporting. So you can have 30 women coming from the same house. And they will vote. And from the next house, 25 women will come. And they will vote. You can't verify them by their faces. You can't ask questions. What is important is that they will queue, you will see 30. But once they go to their houses, who knows if the same 30 have gone to house number 5? to come and kill again. So our figures are manipulated. So you can't get the statistics. You can't talk about some of these things. And I'm saying that I am reacting to the World Bank and their projections. I'll come back to our topic. Shared prosperity and the shared prosperity premiums are important in inclusion and well-being that correlate with reduction in poverty and inequality. Yes, I agree with this. Shared prosperity in truth must be indices that inclusion in society. All of us, instead of a few of them. And what plan working for. It's not about the fantastic figures that comes from either the Central Bank of Nigeria, Ministry of Finance, the World Bank, or African Development Bank. It's about providing the basics that society needs so that every man will be able to actualize his God-given talents, capacities, and capabilities. If we do not start from there, we cannot talk about it. And I go to the definition of it. I agree with him. We need to walk, carry ourselves along. I tell you, I got this rema long before now. Yoruba have it. Ẹni tí à ń sáré kọjá tá a máa ní láti dúró fún a kì í sáré kọjá wọn. I can't say it the way the Yoruba say it. But what it means is that that person that you will run and leave behind and then come back to pick, it is better if you take them along. It is better if you take them along. Because, and I adopted that method right from the day I started working. One of my core siblings is here. My salary in CDHR was less than 5,000. But we were like, the times that we sleep 11 in the house. You understand me now? 11 in a room and parlor self-contained. My wife came and she saw the crowd. I bring girls in. Some guys will come and say, hey, Ibiko. I came and told me, my Emeka knows her. She's a pharmacist now. He said, huh? That means she saw the number of my dependents. And she didn't care. She told them, but she wouldn't take them in this house. That is, she was going to separate me from them. But when my wife came, the person I eventually got married, she saw it. And we discussed it. I said, look, everybody you see here is a guest here today. Tomorrow will be their guests. They are guests here. They will take the little we can offer. They will go and make the best of their lives. If we treat them well, tomorrow will be and they will celebrate us. If you don't treat them well, tomorrow they will see us and will say, this man, he dealt with me. Some you treat well though, tomorrow they will see you, they will remember the little wrong things you did and never the good, great things you did. But that is the nature of humans. But what is important, what underlined it for me, is that if I have to run at my pace, there will be burdens to me eventually, because you can't sever yourself from your past. No matter how dark you think your sunshade is, you will still see the sun. So you hear about them, and you remember that you had a responsibility to make their life better at the point, and that you did not do it. It's happening to our elite. I can tell you. I have been in the, I won't take Munigba. I've been on the barricades with Ariyo, with Nero and Co. We will leave Ife 4 a.m. and come to Lagos to start protest. We'll write graffiti on bridges with no ladder. Somebody will hold your leg, eh? You now bend this way to the bridge and spray to write it. If you fall, Tieton. If police people are coming and you are not brought back immediately and they get you, you are finished. We have had accidents like that. People have been shot beside us. So we are, and I have been in the corporate world. I worked with the Nation, with the comment newspapers, moved into the Nation newspapers. I ran my own personal business, and I worked in the periphery of government. Permit me to use that language. I sat in cabinet for 7 years, and I know what it means to determine the future of people by and some by sound arguments. So the truth about us, therefore, is that for us to do collective prosperity or shared prosperity, our electoral processes must first be sanctified. I'm coming to solution now. You cannot be producing people who buy their ways to offices and expect shared prosperity. It won't happen. Our Leviathan must be reworked. The grand norm upon which Nigeria operates is flawed from the beginning. Until we correct the fatal flaws, we'll be struggling in vain. And what do I mean? I'll use two indices. Please let me know when I have less than 10 minutes so that I can quickly rush over. The old Kano State and the old Lagos State had the same number of local governments at a point in time. The old Kano State now has about 74 local governments. 47 local governments. The old Lagos State has 20 local governments. The allocation to the old Kano states is double on account of the number of local governments you have. More than double. But Lagos State is still stuck in the same number of allocations. Can that iniquitous arrangement bring shared prosperity? No. Down in the south, Osun State has a population of less than 3.5 million. Ondo State has a population of more than 3.5 million. Osun State has 30 local governments. Ondo State has 18. What were the indices for the creation of 30 out of Osun and 18 out of Ondo? Such irresponsible iniquity cannot produce shared prosperity. It's Ondo. So when issues are to be discussed, or should have better say than Ondo. The whole of Kano has better say than Lagos, Ogun, and maybe Ondo. So how can you have equity? How can you have development? And when it is developed, how can it be shared? The number of civil servants that will come from each state is determined. Let's even agree that it is the same number per local government. That means these different states with less number, more number in the civil service, they will have more permanent secretaries. So at the policy implementation age, you have people from one zone determining the future of people from one zone. No matter how altruistic they may be, the reality of their emergence, of their sustenance, will affect them and their activities. That is the reality of our Leviathan. If we do not rework our constitution, so that we have been talking about it for eternity. Yes, until it is done, we'll still be groping in the dark. One other thing we need to do is for all of us, our proclivity, our propensity for wealth. We all want to be rich. Yet we do not know what being rich means. We denominate wealth in terms of naira and kobo, the number of houses, the location of your houses, the number, the packaging of your water. That is how we denominate wealth. It is pure when it's in a sachet. It's not pure. You can't drink it. Yet, the same place they pour the seaways, the same place they package the pure water. Some even better. But the packaging is what matters to us. What my brother pays here, for instance, would be like 10. Somebody in Surulere will pay for this same kind of property. So the moment we denominate our wealth in the package and not on the content, we'll have problems. It applies to certification. Somebody has a PhD and is worse than Gelede. He cannot differentiate between water and other liquids. Yet he has a PhD. If he's to be honored, promoted, he's promoted far and above you who have produced, you have added value to lives because of Bali certification. Either he got it inordinately or otherwise. He's valued above you. It is not about the content, it's about the packaging. We cannot have shared responsibility if all we look is the packaging. I am not saying we should poorly package, but I'm saying that if all we look, and in Nigeria I dare say, all we look is packaging. We can take a madman, dress him well, put microphone before him and becomes your president. That is Nigeria for you. People you will not allow to manage your businesses, they are managing your country. And you are there. We are all waiting. Good, because I don't like walking outside of time. The truth for us is this. One, we must understand that we operate within societies that our actions and inactions will get their repercussions. You steal the society dry, one day you pay the price. It may not be now, but one day. It should, and one of those people you have deprived have gone wayward, and it takes his gun and shoots and harvests his organ along Inewi Road or along Abeokuta Road and sells it. People are now for harvesting. If you do not secure the society, you create monsters like that. If you do not provide necessary, the basics, you create a society like that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here. I will wait till the question I asked. I want to thank Nero Obele, my brother, my ideological soulmate, and he's an inspiration to me. And I must say this: he's younger, but then he's an inspiration. What do I say? Nero and his siblings are exemplars of humility. When his brother came, I told my brother, I said, that's his brother. You could see from their Christian upbringing that these are men who are not mean men. And the same thing I will say of my brother, Ariyo Odole. I've known these guys from eternity. And I know that they will prosper. And I know that their land will prosper. And I know that with them, in position of responsibility. And that is my final word here. Gentlemen, you cannot want a changed society and not participate in it. You cannot want it. Participation is not being some headless, noisy mob. No. Participation means that affecting how things are done in your circle where you can influence. People who don't have voters cards, who don't vote, you make all the noise on social media, you are deceiving yourself. You must take register. Make sure that nobody can influence your vote. If we all stand firm, vote and we follow it to the collation center, and we do what is right, what the law says about it, it's going to become where I vote. It's not possible. Because I know what to do from day one. If all of us know and we are ready to do it, no matter the price we have to pay, our society will be the better for it. For coming here.
Thank you. That is vintage Eni Akinshola giving profound insight into the issues. Please, another round of applause for him. So, to Mr. Eni Akinshola, prosperity should be defined by quality of life. Prosperity or poverty should be defined by quality of life. By quality and not packaging. And to him, also growth and development. He talks about the cases of manipulations in elections, particularly in Nigeria, and also the indices that indicate inclusion. As solutions, he has advocated for correcting the flaws in our constitution. He spoke about fairness and equity in the distribution of wealth. He also talked about denominating wealth in quality and not in packaging. Please, another round of applause for him. Thank you very much, Mr. Eni. And we go to another brilliant mind, Mr. Sunday Anyangu. Please, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Please permit me to stand. And also permit me to go through the presentation I have already put in place while we discuss this topic. First, I want to thank the organizers of this event for inviting me to be here, to be part of this, to contribute my quota in this discussion. By the topic they have brought out and by the series of lectures they have been putting in place, the first and this shows that they have in mind for a better society and a better country. I want to thank them for that. The topic, shared prosperity, is it attainable in Africa? It's something that we look at it closely. Poverty has been with us from creation. Sorry, I'm a Christian, I'm a Bible student, but I'm not going to quote. But even the Bible says, the poor shall not cease in your land. Okay, so poverty is an item that people are struggling over in the world. Right from the world go, from America, Africa, Europe, they are poor people. There is no one continent that is free from this menace of poverty. That was why the World Bank in 2013 came up with two agendas. One, to eradicate extreme poverty in the world. And two, to have shared prosperity. That's the first time this concept of shared prosperity was made popular. And then people started looking at it. My brother has given the definition of the World Bank on what shared prosperity is. I would say, for me, poverty is no longer thought of as in absolute terms and on the basis of an international standard. As he rightly said, as most countries of the world now assess poverty in their societies on the basis of national poverty lines. So when the United Nations talked about $2, Nigeria may talk about 30 naira. We have our different standards. And all 60 naira. There is no permanent or definite decision. The World Bank can say it based on their own concept. Nobody in the US, for instance, can live on $200 per month. It's not possible. Unless he's living under the bridge. But people can live in Nigeria with below $100 per month. And sometimes they enjoy themselves. So the standard for measuring poverty is different from nation to nation. But at the heart of shared prosperity is the need to share the wealth of the nation, to distribute it fairly, to ensure that every person in that nation has a say or has a share in the prosperity or what that country produces, so that few will not enjoy the wealth of the nation. That is the concept of shared prosperity. In simple terms, shared prosperity refers to the idea that economic growth and development should benefit all members of the society, not just few individuals or groups. It emphasizes creating opportunities and reducing inequality that my brother has mentioned, so that the benefits of economic progress are distributed more equally across the population. That is what it means. Equal distribution. After all, the profit of the earth is for all. It's not for few. Now, if we have this as the definition of shared prosperity, does it have any advantage? What are the drivers of shared prosperity? What are the things that would drive shared prosperity? Number one is access to quality education. Can we boast of that in Nigeria? Providing access to quality education for everyone, including early childhood education, primary, secondary, vocational. This is vocational education is something that has gone. We even bring tilers. That if you want to have good tilers, you bring them from Cotonou or from Ghana. Our vocational education system has long collapsed. The higher education equipped individuals with the skills necessary to participate in the workforce, to to contribute to economic growth and improve the overall well-being. Equipping individual. And by the way, when we talk about this access to equal education, what we should provide, we're not looking only at the government. So we also think that private sectors, people, entrepreneurs, can also contribute in creating this access to quality education, instead of making education a big business for making huge profits. But the aim should be to ensure that we equip every individual to be able to contribute to the economic development of the country. That's why you will achieve sustainability. And the second thing we can drive is economic opportunities. This includes promoting inclusive growth, creating jobs, and providing training and skill development programs for all segments of the society. They will now look at social protection, implementing robust social protection systems such as social assistance, health care coverage, and unemployment benefits. Many people die of sicknesses that could be avoidable or simply cured. Why should that be in a society, in this generation, in this time that we exist? As somebody, that simple thing that will make him well could just be 5,000, but it's none. If you go to Ikoyi prisons today, there are people who are there that 3,000 is what they need to come out. But they are there languishing. So the social protection in our society is weak. Because unemployment is also hitting the roof. So when this driver is missing, then there is problem. Another driver will look at access to health care and basic services, ensuring that everyone has access to affordable, quality health care and essential services. Everyone has access to good legal services, improve overall well-being, reduce health disparity, and enhance individual productivity and economic participation. Then another issue again, when we talk about shared prosperity that can drive it, is gender equality and empowerment. In our society, men are the rulers. Many women, especially in the northern part of the country, don't even see the light of the day. They can't even go out, not talk of anything. So they are subjected to whatever thing they are given to. Gender equality must be promoted, must empower women and girls, which is fundamental driver of shared prosperity. Then with social mobility and inclusive institutions, this involves ensuring equal access to justice, strengthening governance mechanism, combating corruption, which is sinking us, and fostering transparency. So as long as we live in this kind of environment, where anybody that gets in there, the public thieves becomes its private pocket, it will be difficult to achieve this shared prosperity. Environmental sustainability is also a driver, promoting sustainability development such as renewable energy, resource efficiency, and climate change adaptation will help to mitigate environmental risk. All this erosion we are having, villages are being eroded gradually. The seashores and communities have vanished from the face of the earth because of lack of good care of our environment. These are the drivers of shared prosperity. Now, shared prosperity as a concept, are there advantages to it? Yes. If we are all equal to a large extent, because we can never be equal, but our functions are clearly defined, then you discover that poverty will reduce. Like I said, poverty cannot be eradicated completely, but it will reduce. when things are shared to ensure that everybody has a role to play, then inequality will reduce. Economic stability and growth will be achieved. Increased productivity and innovation will be there, because when people have a good environment, they stay, and they're not thinking about a lot of issues. They have mind to innovate, to create, and we have a better society. Then it will enhance social well-being. It will reduce crime to a very large extent. People cannot be stealing goat and yam or going to steal rice. Political stability will be achieved because vote buying will not be there again. And the people that will be voted in power will be the people actually put there, and not the people that will use the wealth of the people to buy votes. And is it not in Nigeria when the governor said they bought form for everyone that contested, and most also probably finance everything? A governor that has no industry, you begin to wonder how manage. Then I don't think it also lead to sustainable development of the country where shared prosperity exists. The big question we are asked, is this thing really attainable in Africa? I say, I have my doubt. Because Africa is a continent characterized by vast economic disparities and pervasive poverty. Achieving shared prosperity presents unique challenges and opportunities. There are some challenges that must give way, and opportunities we must take advantage of to achieve shared prosperity. To attain shared prosperity in Africa, some challenges must be addressed, and clearly defined pathways should be followed to tap the abundant resources of Africa for the good of Africa. It is a paradox. Africa is a place the whole world is looking up to. We have the land that can feed the whole world. We have the resources, mineral resources, that can sustain the earth. We have the people. When you talk of population, young population, it's in Africa. But why is Africa so poor? Why is the poorest country in the world? They're all in Africa. Apart from few outside in Asia. Why is it so? It should be something that should disturb us as leaders, as business people, as people in government. Why is Nigeria regarded as a poverty capital of the world? With so much solid mineral, so much oil, so much gas, so much land. Why should people be sleeping under the bridge? Why should we be dying of little things like malaria? Because before we talk of attaining shared prosperity, this should bother us. Why? So you see, the major challenge there is leadership. How do we address the leadership question in Africa, in Nigeria? How do we ensure that people who go there do not go there for themselves, but go there for us? And then use what God has blessed us with to ensure that it's equally they're equally distributed. So economic inequality in Africa is a big challenge. Limited infrastructure abound in Africa. The inadequate, including roads, energy, digital connectivity, significant barriers to economic development and growth in Africa. Insufficient investments in these areas hamper trade, impede business operations, and limit access to basic services further exacerbating the inequality we are talking about. Then there's political and governance challenges. Weak governance, corruption, and political instability undermine efforts to promote shared prosperity in Africa. Ineffective institutions often fail to provide an enabling environment for economic growth, entrenching inequality and limiting social mobility. Demographic pressure is also there. Africa is rapidly growing. Population is growing. It presents both challenges and opportunities. But the challenges there is that when you have too many young people who are jobless, crime will increase. For this opportunity, if they're well harnessed, then there will be growth and development. So you discover that Africa and Nigeria is in danger if we don't do something about our growing youth population. They are both challenges and resources. Depends on how we use it. So it is important that we look at these things and carve a pathway to share prosperity, which in my mind, to attain share prosperity in Africa, we should look at these pathways. One, we should enhance education and skill development, prioritizing education, particularly quality primary and secondary education, ensures that individuals have the skills and knowledge needed for economic participation and social mobility. Promoting vocational and technical training can bridge the skill gap and enhance productivity. Two, we must foster sustainable economic growth. Africa's potential for shared prosperity lies in sustainable economic development, encouraging investment in sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and renewable energy can create employment, diversify economies, and reduce poverty. Oil is not the only thing that we should look at. There's a limit to which oil can do. Agric is so important that if we ignore it, we'll still be where we are. Tackling gender inequalities also must be done, and invest in infrastructure, adequate roads, and all the things that are needed in development, and strengthening the regional integration in Africa. Why would I want to go to other countries of Africa and it's so difficult to even get a visa to go there? The regional integration must be strengthened. I should be free and not looked at as a Nigerian or evil person when I walk the streets of Ghana or Gabon or Cameroon. The same thing should go. So that cooperation should be there. These are the things that are lacking. My time is up. In conclusion, I would say, shared prosperity in Africa is attainable, but requires comprehensive efforts across various sectors, not just government. Addressing economic disparities, promoting inclusive growth, and focusing on social development are critical steps. By investing in education, sustainable economic growth, infrastructure, and governance, Africa can unlock its vast potential and achieve a more equitable and prosperous future for all its citizens. Regional cooperation and global partnership are vital in supporting these endeavors and creating an enabling environment for shared prosperity in Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Anyango. That is a very brilliant perspective from Mr. Anyango. He has shared his perspective with us, speaking on how difficult it is to determine the indices for measuring poverty in Africa, near Nigeria, and the United States of America. He spoke about vast infrastructural inequality in Africa. Again, the vast economic disparities. He spoke about leadership challenge, which ultimately should be the driver of prosperity. And to him, the solutions to all of these problems are quality education, skill development, social mobility, sustainable economic growth, and regional integration. We have really been enriched by his perspective. Thank you, Mr. Onyago. Another round of applause for him. The last but not the least, we are expecting a beautiful perspective from another brilliant mind, Mr. Babatope Makon. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. And thank you very much for having me speak today. It's a privilege to be here. And like the others have said, I would like to recognize the effort that has gone into putting this together. Today's a day everybody should be largely hanging out, having some fun. But for this firm to have put this together, in addition to all the cost outlay that will have been involved, I think they deserve a round of applause. Please clap your hands together for them. And for everybody here present, thank you very much for making the time and the sacrifice to be here. Shared prosperity, is it attainable in Africa? I will be speaking from the street level. It's easy when the big guys have gone ahead and they've laid the foundation. And I would like to actually flip that topic. The truth of the matter is that shared prosperity is inevitable if we are going to remain and maintain our humanity. It's not negotiable. When I was called to be a part of this conversation, my mind was just raising. I'm saying, we are asking this question like there is an alternative to shared prosperity. So let me pick it from where they started. What will happen if there is no shared prosperity? The society is going to collapse. The presence of technology, the presence of social media means that it won't take as much as what it took in 2010, 2011. How many people remember that? The Arab Spring. Remember how that happened? A man set himself ablaze in Algeria, I think. And then he caught on. He went to Tunisia. He went to Libya. He went to Syria. He went to Yemen. We've seen instances now where even military dictators are being chased out of office. Because you see, one of the problems that this government, and I'm speaking about Nigeria right now, is not aware of is that the reason why politicians get away with what they do is because it is very difficult to have the people band together and have a common voice. But they make that obstacle easily lowered when poverty and problem and hunger becoming the rallying point. It doesn't take a lot at all to spark this. And when the movement starts, this is not about NSAS. When the movement starts, it becomes impossible to put out. So, when we think of the concept of shared prosperity, let's not think about it as if can it be? Is it attainable? Let's look at it, as the lawyers will say, as a self-enlightenment in our own self-interest to make sure that wherever we can, whatever we can do to make shared prosperity possible, we do it. Because one of the quotes I lived with as a very young boy is that when the hungry man cannot sleep because he's hungry, the rich will not be able to sleep, not because he's hungry, but because the poor man is awake. They will make noise in his background. They will scale his fence. Now, It's getting to the point where it's very difficult for you to buy a brand new car if you have the money. Are you aware? Because you are afraid of, what will be the reaction? Will you be able to sleep in that house at night? Are you going to get visitors you are not expecting? These are the symptoms of what happens when there is no shared prosperity. So, if I start from that point, now go back to the beginning. I align with their position. Shared prosperity says everybody is taken care of. I do not necessarily agree that it is equal in terms of resources. It's about providing equal opportunity. Because there will always be poor people. Not because there are no opportunities, not because there are no resources, but the system is run in a way that it doesn't benefit only a selected few. There are governments that you never knew could be overthrown. Tunisia was 23 years. Gaddafi was how many years? It is possible when the people are so frustrated that there is nothing else to lose. You know what happens when a man has nothing to lose? There's nothing he cannot do. There's nothing he can't do. So, shared prosperity says everybody can identify themselves. They have a sense of, I'm in this. I belong here. If I want, I can. That's shared prosperity. Opportunities are there. Institutions are there. It is possible. Look at who we are celebrating today. And I'm not looking down on anybody in Nigeria about what they've achieved. But in an economy where the great people, the successful people, are people that have political patronage, something is wrong. Everybody can't have that leverage or that access. So if you're in a society where the top 3, 5 companies, go to the banking sectors. 10 years ago, where were the guys down that we are calling big men in the bank? Who were they? What have they done? They've gamed the system. We go to the Dangotes of this world. How? They are gaming the system. If that is all you can boast of and showcase as a nation, that these are they are poster boys, and the roots, you can't trace their root without talking about political patronage, that system is not sitting well. So if we establish the fact that shared prosperity says everybody is looked after, everybody is taken care of, everybody has an equal chance to aim and work and achieve. If that is shared prosperity, then, like I said, it is not a matter of whether it is attainable or not. It's a matter of everybody here now realizing that in your small little corner, you have to find a way to be a part of that journey. Because if you are not, it's only a matter of time. It may come a time when the hungry and the poor will have nothing else to eat, but the rich. And so we can't pretend at all about this. So if I move out of that zone and then go to so, if we have settled our mind that this is not about whether it can, whether it should, whether it will, if we all take it up that the little we can is to take us there, then the question in my head is, what do we need to do? The fundamental thing for me, and interestingly, I have been involved with politics, student union politics, Aluta, we do riot, we do all of those things. But by my conservative upbringing, I've been tiptoeing around politics until the last 5-7 years when it dawned on me that after God is government. After God is government. Politics, governance is too important to be left to politicians. And as long as we leave the worst of us to rule the best of us, we cannot say we are looking forward to shared prosperity. It is not possible. I refuse to speak in the big concept. I will go to the Africa conversation later. Let's come to this country. People talk about, oh, it's an inevitable sacrifice. Oh, it's a sacrifice that has to be done. Oh, it's a country that has been bastardized. This has happened, that has happened. And I say that we miss the point. Like they say, there are many ways to skin a cat. What is missing in this nation? So I'm going to the solution. What is missing in this nation is that we have people in the country who do not care about us. They are mean, they are wicked, they are selfish, they are insensitive, because there are so many roads. I say this with all sense of responsibility. If the people in government, if Nigerians could by any modicum of imagination be connected to them as their children, let's assume that the people in government today, whether they are state or federal, that everybody in their constituent is their biological child. Do you think they will approach these things they are doing the way they are doing it right now? I tell you not. Yoruba has a saying that the dog knows how to breastfeed his own child and then do what to the other puppies around. Bite. That's what is going on. And that is why we can no longer leave governance. There are many people who say politics is dirty. Please, politics is not just about position seeking. You don't have to carry ballot. You don't have to be in an elective office. If we band ourselves together and we want to do something about shared prosperity, we could all form a political party. We could show the way to do it. We could, even without forming a political party, we could decide to form a group that will identify people who have the capacity to go join politics and set up a system to fund them and hold them accountable. One of the most exciting things I've found recently, and I'm really praying about, is this local government autonomy thing that the federal government is trying to fight. I'm not sure they understand how far-reaching it is, but it's critical. If, as an example, we all know that the local government chairman for this local government has the power to build roads, to do light, to pay salary, to do everything going on, and then we are passing on a road that is not good, 1 day, 2 days, or decided they didn't finish it, what are we likely going to do if we know he will not be pointing to Abuja or pointing to Alausa? What will we do? We will go there. We will go there. We will all go there. We will not, because government is so far away that when you think about the change, it's just a very high wall to scale. Because first and foremost, you have to survive. But if I know that, I mean, look, I live in Bagada, and there is this road, this thing, I don't know how many kilometers it can be, from Unilag just to come to New Garage. They've been on this thing for almost 4 years. And you know what annoys me? They will never do anything during the dry season. When the rainy season comes, you start seeing them shake around, and they will now come and tell you it is because of the rain that they are not able to finish. Where were they looking when it was dry? But you can't go to the local government chairman because at the back of your mind you are thinking, he will tell you, go to Alausa. How do I get to Alausa? Alausa will say, no, it's a federal road. Go to Abuja. Flight, travel, where will I stay? Who do I know? It becomes very far thing. But if it is this man, local government here, we will sleep there. In fact, we will know his house. We will all move there. It is easy for somebody here to say, I will contest for local government chairman, correct? You have no idea how much that can grow and change the entire narrative. Because after God is government. The same way they took us back to 1978 in 3 days. We just woke up and hear there is a new national anthem. That's it. That's how powerful government is. Government can decide whether you are alive or you are dead. Are you aware of that? That you can't carry your dead to go and bury unless government says we agree that this person is dead. Police will stop you. Show me death certificate. That's how powerful government is. So, the first thing is that we all must now know that it is in our best interest to get involved. Get involved in politics. If you cannot campaign for a position like myself, can you support somebody? Can you rally people to register? Can you push them to collect their PVC in that your small circle? Can you encourage them to go and vote? Whether the vote will count is another matter. My bros here was talking about they cannot rig election at my polling center. You can see last election that there are many rules to these things when they want to do it. But we must start from somewhere. As we begin to add this little circle, what happens? It gets bigger. That's number one. Number two, we need to make sure that for those of us who have access to those who are in government, to know that we have to build institutions. And that includes us in our small circle. personal assistant to somebody, commissioner for somebody. I'm not a fan of Bumi Ojo. Well, let me say it differently. I don't know him, so I'm indifferent about him. I'm talking about the Minister for Interior. But if you see what is done, passport, 1 year, huge difference. Imagine if we don't need, you cannot eat this elephant at once. So the idea is not to solve all the problems. Imagine if all the ministers have one thing to say in this 1 year. All I'm doing, we are screaming about food. There was a budget for dry season farming. What happened? If every minister just does one thing, just somebody just takes this, talking about data, just takes one thing and just focus on it and drives it home, and then do that and drop, and then do that and drop. Many of us have access. The problem with this thing, and that's what I'm saying is our best interest, is that corruption is bad when it doesn't have to do with us. Corruption is bad when it is somebody else. When our father, our uncle, our brother gets in position, what happens? Corruption becomes good. Because now you too can chop. But you are forgetting that what we are all doing is kicking the can down the road. Eventually, the chicken is going to come to roost. And then, may that not happen. You know, why I'm very concerned about this topic is, all those countries I mentioned, are you aware that up to today, they are yet to fully get out of that crisis? Libya is still not at peace. Syria is not at peace. Algeria may be a little. Egypt is still not at peace. The meaning is that it is better that we all get involved in this transition to shared prosperity than waiting until it erupts in our face. Because if it erupts, it has no pattern, it has no structure. And it may lead to things that, look at South Sudan, look at Sudan and South Sudan. It's a journey that is not easy to deal with if we don't try to manage it in an organized manner. So, it's about the leadership, it's about the system that they are building, wherever you are, whatever you can to do or to influence the doing, please do it. And number 3, it is the little that you can do in your small sphere of influence, your small circle of influence. No nepotism, no favoritism, no corruption. Encouraging the people to participate. Push them to do the right thing. Because at the end of the day, this is the only nation that we have. So, I would like to land this way by saying that, please, the question is not about whether shared prosperity is achievable. We can see some good stories across Africa. How they are being achieved is another matter. I was in Rwanda early last year. And it was shocking. I was very shocked as to how that country has moved from that genocide. And how they have now turned that genocide into tourism. Maybe we are not thinking about it. Genocide is, as we are here now, something just breaks up and they start killing ourselves. It was bad. Now they've turned it to tourism. They've turned it into national identity. They've grown. That country is clean. That country works. As the driver was taking us from the airport to the hotel, because I was teasing out something. I've read about them. I follow politics a lot. I was saying, are you Tutsi? Are you Tutsi or Hutu? The answer shocked me. He said, I'm a Rwandan. I said, what does that mean? He said, here we no longer talk about tribes. Everybody is a Rwandan. It doesn't show up in any form. It doesn't show up in any identity, because we want to intentionally break down. And that's the conversation we hear everywhere they go. These are people that they came this close to completely exterminating themselves. In about 10, 15 years now, they've turned it around. We can. Even here. Okay? So we see what is going on across Africa. A little spark here, a little spark there. It can happen in Nigeria, and we have a responsibility individually and as a group to make it happen. So, my landing point, shared prosperity. Is it attainable? No. That's the wrong question. It is not about being attainable. It is critical. It is non-negotiable. We all therefore need to rise up, do the little we can, step in the gap that we can, apply the pressure that we can, contribute our quota to make sure that in another 2 years, another 3 years, another 5 years, the narrations will be different, the narratives will be different. And we may not be there, but the journey become a little clearer. That yes, the son of a poor man can become, the son of nobody can become somebody without necessarily knowing anybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malcolm. That was another sound, profound perspective. A street perspective, like he called it, street perspective. Because ultimately, we will judge whether this country works at a time by how an average man on the street perceives it. Is it working for him? Is he only working for the people in the upper layers of society? Is he working? Are people still sleeping under the bridges in Lagos? That is how we will determine at the end of the day whether Nigeria has achieved shared prosperity or not. Thank you, Mr. Malcolm, for that brilliant perspective. Now we will move to the intervention of guests. Your intervention will come in form of remarks, perspectives, or questions. Please, and make it short, please. Thank you very much.
Good morning once again. I am very, very happy and privileged to be here, especially listening to these wonderful and insightful speeches. To my dear friend, I say congratulations, because things like this are very, very scarce. And looking at the population again, we'll know why we are here. So without taking much of our time, I just want to bring in some things. That shared prosperity is equal to shared responsibility. That's one of the things I got from the speeches. One of my challenge or my trouble is that we can actually come together to make progress, huge one, when it comes to religion, when it comes to ethnicity, or what do you call it, tribe. But when it comes to governance, we are far. That is when I will know that I am a Yoruba man. That's when somebody will know that he's Hausa and everything. But when it comes to religion, we make far, far progress. And I'm not sorry to say, that is why today, religion, especially my own religion, Christianity, is everywhere. Pastors become so rich, so powerful, and the rest. So, without stepping on toes or looking down on any religious this thing, I want us to take a look at why institutions like this prosper, make steady progress than in our national life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another.
Thank you. My name is Henry Ligari. So I'm glad to be here, and also I thank the panel for the insightful session. So what I want to bring, the perspective I want to bring particularly as I listen to the various conversations is, I feel like there's an aspect of what eats up our shared prosperity which has not maybe been brought to the fore this morning, which is insecurity. To a large extent, having grown up in northern Nigeria, exposed to a bit of western Nigeria, I've seen that you can be educated but still be limited. Because, for example, if you go to the parts of northeastern Nigeria, particularly where I hail from, one of the core things you realize is one of the core things that is our source of wealth is agriculture. But the truth about this is that my people cannot go to the farm peacefully. So recently, I was having a conversation with an Okada man, which for many of us, they just seem to be riffraffs on the road. I found out that that guy was a university graduate. But what happened? Insecurity came in. They were displaced. So what they simply do is that for some part of the year, they come here and hustle, using the word hustle. Then after a while, when they get a few funds, they go back and support their farms over there. And to a large extent, I personally believe that education is an equalizer in society, because education brings the son of a nobody to stay in the same place and to have equal opportunity with the son of the highest person in the world. But if I am educated, but at the same time, in places where I should have access to things that should help me build myself, I am limited and I'm sent away. How can I respond to that? And one of the reasons why I think this is important is because, to a large extent, while in this side of the country, we're focused on building wealth, on pushing things, improving our industry, people over there are focusing on surviving. A person who is focused on surviving wouldn't think about how much dollar costs. No, it doesn't really mean anything. So, but what we fail to understand is that I schooled in northern Nigeria, and one core thing that the North has is political consciousness. So when I came to this side and I interact with people, I found out that people so educated, but they don't know anything about politics. So educated. While in my own place, a person who is not educated, cannot read and write, knows so much about Nigeria, knows so much about leadership, politics, and can push in a conversation against you. So, looking at all this, and at the same time, the same people that are supposed to push policies that should protect their people are not doing that. I'll wrap up immediately. I'll wrap up, just pardon me, sir. So people who are supposed to push the narrative to protect their people are not pushing it. Why? Because it favors them and it helps them. So I'm bringing it as a challenge and also as a question. Can we, to some extent, tilt our attention away from just the economic benefits or the economy to look at our people? Do they survive? Are they living? Will they be alive by next year? Will they be alive to go to their farms? We know about how much agriculture can sustain the food crisis we have currently, but people can't go to farms. So how can we push this? How can we ensure that we are, yes, focusing on building our economy, and at the same time we are protecting the people that should help build the economy? Thank you.
Thank you. That is insightful. Another intervention? Questions, remarks, please. Speakers, you want to speak? You want to respond to the remarks made by the last speaker? You want to speak to it?
Thank you very much. My co-speakers, I want to thank you. I don't know if standing up will also help me project. I've sat down for some. Now, some of these things that we have said are wonderful, and we have not disagreed fundamentally in our presentations from the direction. But there are some points I want to just make clear. We cannot have shared prosperity in Africa if we do not have shared prosperity in the component units. There is no policy focus on shared prosperity in Africa, none. Nobody is thinking about that. So what is not conceived cannot be actualized. You can only have shared prosperity. Nobody is sitting down, including in AU, to talk about shared prosperity in Africa. AU meetings just will come, we brainstorm over what the Western world wants us to brainstorm over. I've attended AU technical sessions. The agenda is handed over. And people discuss it. You get to AU and they're talking about the same-sex marriage and the response of African to say, is that our agenda? It is not. So we must get that clear. Then too, my brother alluded to the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring was an accident that happened and that boomeranged out of the hands of the Western world. You see, it was a crime of the global North that spiraled out of their control. Libya was not about Arab Spring. It was the global North wanting to kill a man who was moving the society along the trajectory that they did not want to happen. So understand why some things happen about Africa. Anything that will not in any way enforce the worldview of the far north will not enjoy their support, and they are ready to kill it. Goodluck Jonathan had to sacrifice, and I say it without, I was in meetings with the American people before Goodluck Jonathan, and they made it clear that he had to go. It was not because he was the most corrupt leader we ever had, but because he openly opposed the same-sex marriage agenda of the North. So that's why I say Africa in that is going to be difficult, if not impossible. But what can we must rework our Leviathan. Our constitution is an indicator. It fuels poverty. Anything that fuels inequality will fuel poverty. We're all struggling for the same thing, but we're not equally equipped for the same thing. My brother talked about security and insecurity. There is now democratization of insecurity in Nigeria. It is not about the Northeast alone, my brother. The insecurity in the Northeast was politically motivated. So it was the key by the elite there to keep a tendency above the other. That is what happened there. Now it's being democratized to the other part of Nigeria because a section of the elite have decided that to remain in power, these things must happen. Until we understand that, people from the north will begin to hide their brothers, and those who are benefiting will be smiling. You know what it means to import one AK-47 to Nigeria? If you are in the military procurement, you know that the price that the military gets is 10 times more than the price that you can get it elsewhere. So people are benefiting from it. So until we understand, we want to ramble all, but time will not allow some things. My brother raised the issue of government autonomy. They are weaponizing local government autonomy as we speak. Those who are asking that local government get autonomy is not because they love local governments. Because the law governing local government today, if it is truly run as it is, guarantees all the things that those of you who are talking about autonomy are talking about. But the law they want to impose will kill the constitution we operate. They are going to have a totally unitary system emanating from what they are proposing. And I show you an example. There is a local government chairman in Wike's River or in Simfubara's rivers. He woke up and he told the governor that you are a fool. Started insulting the governor. Why did he do that, you may ask? Because he had a godfather in Wike. Abi? And what will happen when this model that they are proposing comes into play is that the local government chairman will no longer have no issue with the local government, with the state, or the state house of assembly. Legislation will be federated for local government and governance. So you are going to have so many 774 unruly people joining 36 unruly people and helping the one unruly person ruling us. So you are going to have democratization of autocracy. Power without responsibility. So it is when we make our laws work. If laws don't work, nothing you do will work. What is the law now? The states will make law governing local governments. Insist it is done. If the federal government has any issue with that, what to do is take state A or B and insist that because you have done this contrary to the law, go to court, have it determined. Not this blanket proposal to say that this local government will almost be taking off the legislative powers of the state. Local government will almost be taking what we have in a federation. The federating units are what? The states of the region and the central power, who they submit their power to. Now we are saying, as Anguyi Rossi started under his, we are now going to have 3 federating units. The local government, the state, and federal. We are now going to sit on a tripartite and begin to agree on. I'm sorry. It's going to be difficult. But this is not the time. This space will not allow us to dwell extensively on it. Whatever the ruling class proposes before you, please go back, read it again. They do one thing, they're like magicians. They say one thing and do another thing. In conclusion, and there are so many things that have been raised here, we must understand why they are democratizing security, my brother. They don't want the common man to have the necessary knowledge and union and unity to fight. So they divide and rule them. We must understand why they do not want to democratize education. They know that when you have the right knowledge, you will ask questions. And that is why schools are being taken out of the reach of people in the Southwest who hitherto had free education up to secondary level. Now they have killed the public schools so that you will not feel comfortable sending your children there. It is why you go to public hospitals. You will enter the labor room and you will swear that your wife must not ever enter that place. It is the same madness. If you see anybody trying to create a level playing ground, they will walk against him and throw him overboard. It's happening. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. When I came into Ondo State, what enamored me about governance was when I saw a governor who talked about primary health care, who talked about women empowerment. You go to hospitals, children age 0 to 5 have free medical care. You go to hospital, you give birth free of charge at the cost of the state. And what it brought about is that women, once they know that mortality rate is reduced, no woman wants to go to the labor room 10 times. But when it is about a year, if I give birth to 10, maybe 4 dies, remain 6, you want to go there. Security. That was what most of our women did, our mothers did. But what does it cost to make sure that when you give birth to 4, bearing all natural circumstances, 4 will survive? Is it rocket science? No, it is not. We ran it for 6 years in Ondo State. I was proud of it. It succeeded. One clown came and killed it. Private schools were dying in Ondo State as at 2017. Private schools were dying because they could not compete with the mega primary schools created by government. Each primary school had 25 computers in class. Primary schools, functional, had solar grid, had now to make money for the school to run. One clan got there and killed everything. It is a class thing. Unless and you understand it. And that's I come back to where I came back. Participate in politics. Hello? Participate. And not just participate in social media or radio station or newspaper. Go to where you vote. Influence people. Influence people. Yes, some can rock the boat by manipulating results here and there. A time will come, if we all play our role, it will be difficult to manipulate results. I said it as concerning in my place, before I got to where we got to, they were just writing figures. Now, the young people have been socialized into taking action. Let us do. Until we do that, they have to defend their votes. They have to pay attention to who comes in there, not the post. They will not have change that we all desire. I'm sorry for wasting your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ani, for that insightful one. New words in our lexicon: democratization of insecurity. But poverty has always been democratized in our society over the years. Thank you for that, sir. I've seen the indulgence of the other speakers to allow somebody to speak from the overflow before I come back to you.
Thank you so much, although I only caught the concluding portion of the discussion. And my note is that in addition to our discussions on shared prosperity, I think we should also lay good emphasis on private individuals taking the initiative. I consider the Industrial Revolution of the United States, and I see that before the United States got to the state where they are now, where you can say there is shared prosperity and a working system for all, private individuals took the initiative to drive industrialization, and which eventually led them to a state of shared prosperity. So we know the nuance of Nigeria's situation. We understand the peculiar situations of Nigeria, where we have a government that is not willing and ready to do what they ought to do to take the large portion of citizenry out of poverty. So I think in this regard, and considering Nigeria's peculiar situation, large emphasis should also be laid on private individuals taking the initiative. And we've seen this in some instances in the working sectors of Nigeria's economy. Say, for example, the telecommunications sector. We see that it was private individuals who took the initiative, drove that sector, and made it functional. Look at the fintech sector, look at the fintech area. We see private individuals, we see young men taking the initiative, creating prosperity in that regard, and then we see the government trying to catch up in that regard with laws. So I think that, yes, shared prosperity is a must. Yes, the government must ensure that they live up to their billings and ensure that there is prosperity. But also importantly is the fact that citizens should not expect the Nigerian government to do what they ought to do, but if they could, or rather emphasis should be laid on the fact that they should also take that initiative. I mean, an initiative has brought us here today. So initiatives should also be taken by private individuals to ensure that eventually we all converge at shared prosperity. Just one last point. So perhaps also emphasis should be laid on the fact that there should be an enabled structure and system for citizens to take this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Joshua Yonda, and again, it's a privilege to be here and to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, do we have any other intervention from this side? There are people who wants to make intervention online, please. Okay, hello? Okay, okay, please.
Very stimulating discourse. I just want to make a two intervention, quick one. The first is the title of this discourse, which has to do with shared posterity or prosperity. Sorry, is it possible? I want to look at it from the angle of culture. Angle of culture. I think that's the area that I have not. I don't know whether any of the panelists has actually addressed it. We have a culture, and that culture is an enduring culture of shared responsibility. But as time progressed, due to westernization and what I will call in the pursuit of economy, of financial prosperity, the shared culture has been abandoned. You will recall that even most of us, when we're growing up, you can't take anything that does not belong to you. Even without your parents, somebody within your neighborhood will correct you. And that is what has led to what we are seeing today in our political balance. What we are seeing, the charade we are seeing in our political balance and our economy balance is because the cultural value has been eroded. Today, I was watching a video today. A man was asking his son, where did he get money to buy a Pro Max phone? And the man just left it there. Okay, I believe you are Yahoo Yahoo. That was the end of the discussion with his son. and it went into another thing. Nobody was not ready to go into detail how the guy got that money to buy almost about 1.5 million phone. So I think for African to share responsibility, we need to revisit our culture. And another area that I also want to merge with culture is actually our history. You thank God the government is bringing back history. I don't know why they pull out history from our curriculum, but it's coming back. We're a nation that forgets its history can never grow, no matter how democratization you want to deploy, no matter what the policy and what have you, it will not work. Because if you don't know where you are coming from, you won't know where you are going. And that is why it seems as if Africa is grouped in darkness. We are just talking, we are just sharing ideas here and there, and because the foundation has not actually been addressed. So I want to believe that this lecture should address that. The second point is, what is the uptake? I want to put Obele on notice, because while I was talking, I went online to check whether Obele has a channel, at least video channel, because you can't have this robust discussion. At the end of the day, it ends in this room. I don't know whether it's going to, maybe there's a government official who will take the uptake. Because one of the problems we have today, I'm speaking from academic point of view anyway, one of the problems we have today that Nigerians are great idealists. We raise a lot of ideas, we generate a lot of knowledge, but there's no uptake. So I want to challenge Obele to go into to see how this discourse, the first lecture, I don't know, I didn't see it online. This second lecture must not go by like that. There must be an uptake. Share the discourse all over the social media. Let people begin to engage it. Let's take this discourse beyond this conference, beyond this room. Let's take it to the public place and see. And as we are sharing it, as people are making comment, the government, those who are supposed to, the policymaker will get to know about it, and from there they will tap one or two knowledge. That is just my own intervention in this discourse. Thank you.
Let us seek Mr. Ebonolu Adegboruwa. Kindly share your intervention, sir.
Thank you very much. My comrade, I hope you can hear me. I thank you, Mr. Olanirobele, for this great opportunity to reflect on our collective journey as a nation and to profile solutions on how we can get to our desired goals. I want to say that just like Mr. Obele has done, we in all our various spheres of endeavor should take up the battle and struggle for a better Nigeria in any way that we're empowered. It is not only when you have resources, not only when you are a lawyer or an accomplished businessman. In our various spheres of life, in the marketplace, in school, in our offices, we should become ambassadors of our revolution. Which is why I'm very glad that this lecture has not failed since it started, and we are marking the second edition. Having said that, it's unfortunate that our nation is at the road where it is now. A lot of things have been said on whether the president is doing the right thing, which other leaders have failed to do. And so we should prepare to take the pains and swallow the difficulties while we await the El Dorado. I am mindful from my own contribution of Section 14 of our Constitution, to the extent that the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. So from that pristine, I take it that whatever policies any leader will implement, whether as president, as governor, local government chairman, as legislator, as an MD, the ultimate goal should be for the good of the common people, as said in the Constitution. Because the priority of governance should be the happiness of the people. So if we have a leader who claims to be implementing policies that reduce the capacity of his people, that impoverishes them, that sends them to the gulag, sends them to the grave all the time, that's not a leader. No matter the level of innovation in the economic policies of any leader, once the end result cannot lead to the good of the common people, then there's no leadership. So as we talked about having shared prosperity, it will have, there should be that sense of shared suffering. The best business in Nigeria today is to be a politician. It is very lucrative because it's the one oiling every other sector, as it were. The companies are shutting down, the factories are not working, unemployment is rising, inflation from 17% that government met is now 33%. The exchange rate from about 700 and something that government met is now 1,500. So by all indices, we have currently the worst leader in the history of our country. And so on an occasion like this, June 12th, we should look back. Because what led to the June 12th struggle is we had an election that was annulled by the military, which was adjudged to be the very best in our history. And together with all of you who are here now, so many of our comrades, and even the current president, everybody insisted that we must get value for that election. So that even after the death of Chief Mko Abiola, we still kept saying that we wanted democracy, which was what led to the 1999 general elections. So in our various areas now, those of us who agitated for that struggle, we are now in power. I mean, if you go to the Senate, all our comrades and colleagues are the ones there. If you go to the House of Representatives, many governors, many House of Assembly members, many commissioners, they are all our cadres. If at this time, Nigeria cannot experience shared and common prosperity, when these our comrades and colleagues are in power, I don't know what will happen. I don't know what will happen. So I think that what I would probably agitate is that the discussions at this forum should be summarized into a kind of communique and be well publicized, because that's the only way we can reach the people. And then when we have done that, in our own various capacities as lawyers, as activists, we should keep challenging the government. We should keep demanding for resource control. We should keep demanding for devolution of power. Because the president cannot deny himself. He was the greatest advocate of true federalism. But because of the ambition of second term, the president is retaining the status quo for his own benefit. The electoral system that is not good, it's okay with the president. The economy, so as long as everything will lead to the return of the president for a second term. He's not willing to do what we expected he would do when he will get into office. So, and that's why I want us to be sounding the bells in our various churches, mosques, markets, schools, offices, until we get what we desire. I know that it shouldn't be a day of long speeches. I want to challenge you to action. Let us not undermine our efforts, especially even at a forum like this. Don't think that you do it and you are not getting results. Let's keep piling up the struggle. Let's keep piling up the pressure. Let's keep raising awareness. Who knows when one day somebody can pick up on the communique from this lecture, somebody can pick up from where you stopped your struggle, somebody can pick up from where you did your cases, and then be able to achieve results. Paul planted, Apollo watered. We give glory to God for the results. So I commend all the speakers, especially those who traveled from far and wide to be here, and commend our colleague, Mr. Obele, and all members of the audience. Have followed your contributions. They are quite enriching. It's good to be amongst our family, but I'm giving a challenge to all of us. We are now in power. In our various spheres of authority, let us bring to pass our common understanding. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Learning Sick, for sharing your thoughts with us. The Learning Sick has challenged us to collectively struggle for a better Nigeria. That we should remind government that the main aim of government should be for the security and welfare of the people. Before I come back to you, sirs, let me need to speak outside, please. Any intervention from the side? Mr. Agumade.
Mr. Rio. Planning of Bele for putting up this program again. We were here last year, and we thank God that we are here this year again. On the topic, it occurs to me that it is rather sad that we are asking whether shared prosperity is possible in Nigeria or in Africa. I say this because in traditional Africa, shared prosperity was foundational. The family, there was great emphasis on the family setup, discipline in the family, and the sharing of responsibilities and goods. In fact, a profound proverb says, Olówó kan láàrin ẹgbẹ̀rún tálíkà ló ná. Because it is a problem when only one person is prosperous among thousands of people. Today, the foundations of shared prosperity are in tatters in Nigeria. 85 two of them. Unfortunately, I didn't listen to all the discussions because I was on the way. So I wouldn't know whether some of the things I would say have been taken care of. So I'm sorry if that happens. I identify two of these foundational areas. Number one, land, ownership of land. One of the easiest ways to be prosperous is to own land. When you own land, a lot can be built. In traditional Africa, land was basically for individuals, one person. The military government in 1978 enacted the Land Use Act that strip the people of their land and place it firmly in the hands of the governors of the respective states. Now each governor comes to power and takes a portion of the choicest portions of the land, and he also shares it to his friends and political associates. A lot of land are lying fallow today under the name of having been acquired by government. There are people in local areas who desire to farm today and they don't have land to farm. Like one of the discussants said, it is not until when you ride big cars or you have the biggest qualities of education for us. If you have land and you can farm on your land, like many of our forefathers did, they were prosperous. Our own right. So have land to farm. Area is education. The access to education has been polarized between the poor, the rich. The rich people now put their children in private schools and foreign schools. The poor people wasn't like that. People like Olani Robele sat in the same class with children of ministers, governors, great people in society. Children of poor people are all on their own. You see them in a class, you know that all these people are children. You go to private schools, you know that all these children are from rich backgrounds. So there is no mix. For networking, poor has been taken away. You know, in classes in those days, you will see children of poor people coming with a lot of smartness that children of rich people did not have. And then children of rich people came with a lot of material resources. So they were sharing. There was interrelationship. That interrelationship is destroyed. So a lot of opportunity for prosperity is also being destroyed at that level. Now, what can we do? Because all of us can act that we cannot go on like this. Some of the results are already being seen in young people taking to disgraceful crimes like Yahoo, that has destroyed the image of this country. Because when people look at it that the opportunity for prosperity is blocked, they take to whatever they can find. So there can be no doubt that we must move away from this trend. Some of the solutions have been preferred at our individual level. We have to keep doing whatever we can, like Mr. Wele putting up this program. And particularly, we need to start making serious efforts to challenge our legislators, because instruction of national principles for prosperity come from the law made by the lawmakers. If the Land Use Act can be amended in such a way that there can be a return opportunity for ownership of land, a lot of the problems will be solved. A lot of other things also can be solved if conscious attempts are being made by our legislators to look at our international Africa, like I said earlier on, principles for shared prosperity. Things can be instilled a system of our laws, not just take hook, line, and sinker systems and policies that we get from foreign countries. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding us of the need to visit our shared sense of shared responsibility. Our speaker sirs, you have listened to the last three speakers. I'm sure you want to respond to them. Thank you.
Thank you. I think when we look at the culture aspect of this topic, we realize that, yeah, in the 70s, in the 60s, we grew up under a very good culture. We're looking after one another. In those days, in the village, age grades, because in our place we work with age grades, can gather and build house for their other age grade. And things were done uniformly. You will not even know who is poor. But some people, you know that some people are doing better than the other. And the society was moving in that way. And then civilization came. The Western world brought their culture. And we all embraced it with our hands, 2 hands. We threw away our own culture and imbibe the culture of the white man. It's one of the problems we have. We're people that have kind of lost our identity. And we are running anything we see that appears to be good, we embrace it. It's a challenge. And orientation, somebody says culture is the software of the mind. Once it is imputed during childhood or through socialization, once imputed, it is difficult to remove. And the culture children and young men have imbibed is different from the culture we had or our parents had. And the only thing there is good governance. Good governance. But Nigeria, sorry to say, we are very docile people. We take anything that comes our way from our government, we take. I had occasions to have discussion with so many people. They'll tell you the things that are happening in this country, if half of it should happen in our country, the whole place will go up in flames. But we absorb it. Even if somebody comes out tomorrow and pour petrol on himself and put fire on himself and die because of bad governance, we'll just everybody will move on. So we are not concerned. We are too individualistic in trying to make the government to work. Coming to church setting, you observe that the man of God brings one constitution, which is the Bible or the Quran, and he teaches you that you are all one before God, and you call yourself brothers and sisters. You don't call yourself Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa. You work together. You want to build a cathedral, you bring your money and you build it. Everybody puts efforts in doing it. When it comes to the nation, because you don't contribute, you are looking at the resources that the country has. The person that will have it, how we share it, it creates this unity. Nigerians don't contribute to government. Nigerians don't like paying tax. That is it. And government, that Nigerians are doing. And also know that the easiest way to gain power is to create division, divide and rule. Once it is time to share the national cake, just tell somebody that it's a Muslim and the other one is a Christian, and Muslims are supposed to rule. You have won the battle. So these are the things Nigerians should wake up and see ourselves as Nigerian. I do not know the benefit of state of origin is doing to us. I've never seen the benefit. Can we abolish it? Can we see ourselves as Nigerians? Can we decide on who we want to elect? Can we be sincere to our brother who is doing evil and tell him to his face and ask him to step down. These are the things, because the solution is here with us. We're not going to bring anybody outside to help us, but ourselves to help us. But are we ready? Can we sensitize ourselves? Can we be ready to ensure from our little community? Because when I look at things, if I drive on the way, I see Nigeria in picture. If I go to the market, I see Nigeria in picture. If I go to the mechanic, I see Nigeria. So from that little corner, how are you doing? What are you doing? How often do you jump traffic light? How often do you change figures or take bribe? How often do you give contract based on not on competence, but because it's your brother in your little corner? These are the things. How do we grow wherever we are? How do we make efforts to grow that institution to ensure that it prospers? To live it, the companies over abroad stay for 100 years. How long do we have here? Nigerian companies. To change our ways, we need to realize ourselves, and we need to decide to form a better society. A country, they say, to give to our children a flag without stain. But that flag has been so much stained. I don't know how we're going to change it to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are we ready? Mr. Anyago asks a very fundamental question. Are we ready? Are we ready to lift Nigeria up, to make it a better place? What do we do as individuals and as a collective? How much lot do we contribute individually to what has brought Nigeria this far, to what has brought us into these muddy waters? Do you contribute to violation of traffic rules? Do you share your brothers up when they steal from the coffers? So these are questions that we must all ask ourselves. Thank you. Mr. Malcolm, I'm sure you want to respond.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the contribution. I would just like to ride and add to what has been said. I'd like to start from the church conversation, and I would like to join it with your contribution, sir, because you picked on something that really struck very deep with me: political consciousness. We can do a lot. During the election cycle, in my office, I hold sessions with my team around politics. Many of them were very apathetic about it, but through that I was able to push. In fact, I gave allowance for days to go and register, for days to go and collect PVC. Because Olu Adegburuwa spoke about the fact that one of the problems we have, which is why, and I don't want to reopen the conversation here, I am looking forward to government coming closer, is that you are better encouraged to know that your action can actually move the needle a bit. The way is so far away, it doesn't encourage you to want to move, because it just looks like you are dropping one dot inside one ocean, and it's like, what's the point? But we can make a difference. It may not be immediate, but it can be gradual. So the point, sir, is that we all need to build that political consciousness. When we build that political consciousness, and I keep repeating this, after God is government. After God is government. If that sinks in, then we begin to look at politics. When you get to the market, the seller doesn't ask you, are you Igbo, are you Yoruba, or are you Muslim, are you Efik, are you English? No, we are all dealing with it. But you know what? The mind is very funny. The mind, I'm a student of psychology. The mind cannot connect the conscious with the subconscious. We sometimes live a very dissociated world where you can't see the fact that this road is like this. It's because one senator somewhere down there is more interested in having constituency project in his pocket than building a system that can build the road. They are very disconnected. The closer you are to power, and you are enjoying the benefit of those who are in power, the less sensitive you are aware that what you are getting is probably 10 times what you should be getting, but it's actually zero for some other people somewhere. So I've added your comment to what I put. When I talk about joining politics, so I say you can go for elected offices if you care. You can join a political party if you can and encourage others. You can sponsor a candidate, preferably as a group. You can educate people, but now this political consciousness, I'm going to add it to it. Let's add it to our lexicon. Let's be intentional. Teach your children. Talk to them. Doing politics, you talk about it in my house. What do you understand by this? What do you understand by? I tell my daughter, when you get to university, do something in your association. That's how you begin to build them in that direction. So that's very powerful. Somebody spoke about culture. I agree. The problem is that who are the custodians of culture? Those in power. People are amazed. You see social media videos. Before this Third Mainland Bridge was commissioned, people were already vandalizing it. I saw a video recently of the second Niger Bridge being vandalized. And they are all going up in arms. And I wonder, are you guys all right? Do you know how powerful? See, I saw something recent that really blew me away. Leadership is about influence. I saw a video that said, did we notice that in that word influence, there is the word flu? How do you transmit flu? You catch it. It's not taught. If somebody has flu, COVID, what happened? 2 kilometers distance. Stay indoor. It spreads. It is not a conscious effort. Our leaders don't understand that they carry flu and they are spreading it. So when you see a set of leaders who day in, day out act like, I don't care about all of you, all I care is about me. You now wonder why somebody will have the opportunity of stealing one rod on the bridge and they will not do it. Because that's the example we see. So it goes back to governance. We all must remember, after God is government. Whichever way you can get involved to shape it, to mold it, to bend it, to get involved, let's do it. Because the same way they took us back to 1970 national anthem, don't worry, one day they can decree that they can decree that it is no longer 8 a.m., 9 to 5 that we need to work. We need to have working from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then we will now start fighting it. So it is about that. Somebody outside spoke about private sector. I agree with you, sir, but there is a difference between shared prosperity and distributed prosperity. What you are talking about is a few people. How many hospitals can Flutterwave run? How many hospitals can MTN run? How many police stations can Dangote run? We are talking, when you hear shared prosperity, it means we build institutions that work. People are spending 10, 15 million to leave Nigeria to go to Canada. They know that there is no job waiting for them. They know that they have to find money to go to school. But you know why they still try to go? There are systems that work that does not look at your face. Our country has turned subsidy to a crime. I said from the beginning that the principle of the subsidy removal is very faulty. There is no government that doesn't give subsidy. Can you believe it that the biggest subsidy is coming from China? This same China. That this last recession that came out of COVID, that the UK government, we pay subsidy. In more civilized environment, they implement subsidy. That's the difference. They target things. In the UK, people were given ceiling above which they will not pay for power. Because they know that if there's no money in the average family pocket, the economy is going to go down. They will target subsidy to companies to help them invest in fixed assets, to help them keep their to keep payroll going. That's how it's done. But here, they remove it from fuel. They remove it from power. Because in Nigeria, the cure for headache is to cut the head. Oribibe, onlogorififo. We can't have the leadership team to sit down and try to separate the issues and solve the problem. And that's why it won't go away. So the subsidy leaves the consumer, goes to government. What happens there? It disappears. We never see it. The solution, we almost get involved. Find the right people. The worst of us cannot be leading the best of us. Not everybody will carry ballot and go and become anything, but whatever you can do in that space, please do it. So I agree there is a space for the private sector, but when you hear the word shared prosperity, is an institutional thing. It is government. And when you now have a set of people who have bastardized our culture, who show us that it doesn't matter whether you are eating or not, as long as I am fed, that is how the culture has been eroded. But it is not it's not incurable. All you need is another set of leaders. I gave the example of Rwanda. These were people a few years ago that were killing themselves, not just talking like we are talking. As in, when you see some of those pictures, you shudder that at these people, human beings. There was one I saw where inside a church, people were hiding. And all in the name of tribe. A tribesman asked that they collapse that building and they killed everybody right inside the church. And that same country today, when you get there, you say, are you Tutsi? Are you Hutsi? And they tell you, we are all Rwandese. It is possible, but leadership is the beginning and the end of everything. And whatever we can do to move in that direction, inches and centimeters, let us do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Makun. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Oluwaniyo Yeniro. I want to commend the organizer of this program, my able friend, Barrister Obele, and also the speaker. The last speaker, you wanted to say something, but because maybe there were so many things you were trying to explain, I think maybe the thing eluded you. And that was the area my brother here spoke about, which has to do with religion. So you wanted to say something about it, but you were unable to say it. I wanted to ask, what's directly the impact of religion in the subject matter we are discussing? Thank you.
Thank you. Introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cornelius, and thank you for the insightful, educative, and fantastic session to the audience and also to the guest speakers. All right, so my own thought pattern, I actually want to cue behind the saying from the last speaker that says we have a shared prosperity and distributed prosperity. From the North Central where I come from, we have this saying that Tioki Baloba Momodu Loboke. What do I mean by that? I know that there is a big gap between what is taught in the class and what is happening in the real world. Now, where I'm going is youth empowerment. This sitting has not actually spoken about youth. And we see that Nigeria has more than 70% of our population in this demography. So another way we can actually look at this shared prosperity is how can we identify a youth from maybe a distributed prosperity until it becomes a shared prosperity. Good enough, the organization I work with actually is doing something about that. Okay, we identify some persons, organize an apprenticeship program in a sector that you can learn, and even you get paid while learning. So
The thing about impact of religion, for me, it could be positive and it could be very negative in Nigeria. And I'll tell you, when we talk about political enlightenment, and my brother was talking about some parts of this country, I've also participated in studies, and when you talk about enlightenment in some places, it is enlightenment towards religious division. Politics is premised on religion. So those who are knowledgeable about it, they are not being knowledgeable in order to promote the country. They are being taught to practice policies to the advantage of their own ruling class without them knowing. When it's Friday before election, and these are things I don't report. I have participated in studies, engagements with the populace in these settings. And Friday afternoon, somebody calls prayer after prayer, somebody takes the mic and gives instruction premised on unreasonable, irresponsible manipulation of religious belief. And by Saturday, people are voting against themselves, against their own progress, but premised on religion. It's happening, and I can tell you I had first-hand experience. The same way ethnicity has been manipulated along that line. On Friday, KBCs will come up and talk to people. Obas, emirs, kings like that. But the influence varies from culture to culture in Nigeria. And that's why I didn't want to disarticulate this or disaggregate it to some basic things. We talked about cultural reality. We had horrible cultural practices that had to die. And I tell you, it was our culture at some point for people to take slaves of each other in this Africa, in Nigeria. You take slaves of your neighbor country, your neighbor community. It was our culture. It had to die. So dynamism of culture is also important. There are things we have to leave behind. There are also things we have to learn. And that's, for me, I said, learn, relearn, unlearn, and relearn. You know, one happens, relearn. So we must be careful with some of these things. In some places, religion has played a positive role. In politics, pray over it, take the right decision, what will benefit you. And you see, prayer is not just about talking to God alone. Prayer is also talking to self. Prayer means being sober. Sometimes you sit down and you ruminate, and it will tell you that this person is better than this person. It's a form of prayer. It's introspection. But if you don't have it, if you don't experiment with it, what you just do mostly is look at the peripheries of it and you take decisions. You know, in those states, for instance, we're going to have election in November. If I have to vote, if I have any role to play, I won't vote for either of the aspirants. I will not. But we are stuck. We are stuck. The other parties cannot bring candidates that can compete with the leading parties. So we are stuck with two unlikely persons who should not govern a local government. So we are stuck until we make it impossible for such realities. And that's why I keep on saying that, look, we must rework this place. A structure that allows somebody who has no cognate experience in governance, who has never been successful in anything, to become governor. There must be a problem. Somebody who did not have native intelligence, somebody who cannot converse in any language legibly. You cannot have a conversation of 1 hour with somebody and he wants to be governor. Is it possible for that person to govern well? So we have such issues. And we must internalize these realities. The other thing is this thing about the private sector. And look, I've done peripheral things in private sector. One government policy can turn the life of a society. A Dangote cannot build all the roads in this world, no matter how big he is. So governance and government is where you should invest your time. You should invest your time in mobilizing people, invest your time in mobilizing participation, mobilizing education, mobilizing knowledge. When they're asking for local government autonomy, what are they asking for? Know it so that you won't just join the bandwagon. When they're asking for, what is it called? Resource control. Know what it means. Some people are just asking for resource control just to redistribute access. Access. Not to democratize access. Mark my word. Not to democratize. They want you people to go so that these other people can come in. And not for it to be explored or exploited for the benefit of all. We must understand all these things, educate those we relate with. And I've said this, there is packaging and there is content. There are PhDs that are worse than primary school leavers. But when you see an intelligent human being, he will converse with you intelligently in the language he has chosen. That's me. So when I start talking to you and you are speaking in English, and I said, look, what language are you comfortable with? And I sit down with you and listen. If I can't hear your language, I would rather accept somebody to help than allow you to converse in language that you don't understand. Your logic will be distorted by your lack of knowledge of that language. That is where we are getting it wrong. Everybody wants to speak English. If you don't know how to speak English, speak in the language that you can converse with. But speak intelligently. But if you are choosing to speak English, please don't come and say it was around me. We can't allow, that's the point. It is you have chosen. So you want to govern, you must come to equity with plain hands. You cannot be somebody that does not have a provable, traceable history, background, name, qualification, and you are saying that you are coming to equity with plain hands. No, you have already skilled things in your favor and against society. So many things to say, but don't let us continue. I hope that by the third edition, if I'm not speaking, I will be here. I missed the first edition by the Whiskers, and my brother, Rockway Willa, came to represent us, and I'm sure he did well. We have to continue these conversations. Please, any platform you have, let us continue with this conversation. Sometimes I go into some space discussions that they do not invite me to. I invite myself. After one or two discussions, some will call me. I say, yes, I want to contribute. You cannot be lying. You cannot be destroying the foundation of this place. We talk about private sector, and I'm going to round up here. There is no true private sector in Nigeria, except of recent when we have people investing in fintech. Every person who has made it in private sector has benefited from the manipulation of the system in Nigeria. Almost everybody. Name them, and I'll tell you. Waivers are the heart. Waivers, unimaginable waivers. Allocation of forex that they cannot justify. Can those kind of people save us? Can they? Who is a banker now that can point to any farm with which God is going to invest in banking? We are not producing anything, and banks are returning unbelievable figures. From where? So let us. I said this. The question, the answers are in you and I. But if we don't exchange ideas, we won't learn more. So I'm open to ideas. Let us continue to that. I want to thank my brother. This is a wonderful thing. And like Sam said, or whoever said it, I thought that we were on social media. But if not, get this, send it out in short bits. Let us send it to all our platforms. Let people contribute. It is when we start talking that we know who is saying nothing and who is saying something. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Kishola. That was very beautiful. Now, this sums it up. Democratization of access. How do we ensure this? Access to quality education. Access to good governance. Are our leaders going to allow this in Nigeria, looking at our experiences? Well, these are endless questions. This will continue. And I hope that we will take this a lot better by the time we hold next edition by next year. Thank you, everybody. I'm sure that we all agree that this program has been very insightful, enlightening, and that we will all come together to raise consciousness of our people, to help to push our leaders to do better. Thank you very much. At this point, I will call on Salamatu Yunus Aligari to come and give the vote of thanks. Welcome, Salamatu.
Good afternoon, distinguished speakers, our honorable guests, and everyone. Thank you so much for coming. On behalf of LIBERTEVIE Law Practice, especially thanking everyone who made it here, both physically and online. We really appreciate your contributions. Our distinguished speakers, thank you so much for your expertise, your contributions, and then thank you so much for being here, for honoring our invitations. our attendees, our guests, thank you so much for your contribution. Your presence and contribution has made this occasion a resounding success. Thank you so much. Our online attendees and guests, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for still being online to this point. Thank you so much. We really appreciate, and we hope to see you in our next edition. In any way we have wronged you or we did something that ordinarily we should do, we are asking you to forgive us. We're going to improve better in the next edition. And also from the firm, we are not stopping the conversation here. We'll continue to create platforms to ensure that this conversation continues. And also the firm is open for your contributions. The firm is open for your observations. The firm is also open for any of your legal needs. Thank you once more. Thank you so much. We are so grateful. Thank you.
We call on Dr. Ugbiraha to give the closing prayer. Dr. Ugbiraha.
We are praying. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this insightful moment. It's talking about our nation. We just say thank you, Lord. The glory and hope be to mighty name. Lord, all we are saying here is for the betterment of our nation. Lord, you are the owner of Nigeria. You are the one that have given these wonderful people here today to have these wonderful deliberations. And Father, we are praying by yourself. Honor this word in Jesus' mighty name. Lord, we want to thank you for the organizers, for this wonderful effort they have put up today. Lord, please bless them the more in Jesus' mighty name. Lord, we are looking forward, to the next one. And by your grace and power, Father, we are praying to keep everyone alive till that time in Jesus' mighty name. Lord, as we are living here for our various home destinations, Lord, please go with us and help us, Heavenly Father. We want to be good citizens, Heavenly Father. That's the most important thing. If our lives are transformed, if our lives are better, we can influence the nation. Lord, please help us to be good. Each of us to be good, Heavenly Father. That power belongs to you. Nobody else can do it. Lord, please help us to do that and take all the glory. For we pray in Jesus' mighty name.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.
capitalist system which is founded on fraud and exploitation, and therefore you are bound to have corruption.